Hey YouTube, we're going to do a video on changing out the hydraulic transmission fluid on my Cub Cadet 127 tractor. The tractor rear end is pretty much the same for all the hydrostatic models that Cub Cadet made, so even though it's not maybe your exact model, this should give you an idea of what to do. And the reason I'm doing it is when I got into collecting these Cub Cadet tractors, there really wasn't any videos on YouTube that I could find. So I'm just going to give you some pointers here. When I changed out the fluid on the 147 that's in the backyard, I had read in the manual that there's over or just under 2 gallons of fluid inside these tractors. So I was expecting a big gush of fluid to come out, and when I did it, there was less than 12 ounces that came out of that, which did explain the whining that the transmission had. So I used my electric impact wrench to take out the bolts. The bottom 3 had already been loosened prior. When this 127 was sitting in the backyard and not running, I needed a hitch for the 147, so I went out and robbed the 127's hitch off, but trying to get it off was, the cover plate was something else. What you don't see in this video is the approximately 10 minutes it took me to get the cover plate off, or loosened, to start letting oil flow out. Eventually I was able to get a purchase with a putty knife and get a screwdriver in there to kind of start peeling away the cover plate to let the oil flow out. And this unit actually had a lot more oil than I expected. I use the rubber gloves, one because they're free, and two, just to kind of protect your skin from the contaminants and oil and such, but also because I have other things to do throughout the day, and I don't want my hands constantly covered in oil and having to go in the house every time and wash them off. So I just use the rubber gloves when I can. So we're taking off the cover plate here, and you can see the old gasket was really stuck on there good. But I have to say, despite the fact that this tractor was stored outside, the oil was in good shape and there was no water or real contamination inside. So I'm just trying to scrape off some of the old gasket with the wire brush and kind of clean up the surface. I did a quick inspection that you didn't see off camera, and the inside looked great. That gasket really didn't want to come off. I brought the cover plate downstairs on the wire wheel on my bench grinder, and as you can see,
all
I
cleaned up
all
the old gasket off the
mating
wire
surfaces.
wheel.
So
Let's give this another.
it just gets rid of all the old gasket material, so I can ensure a better seal. And like I do with most of my gasket projects, even though I have a real authentic replacement gasket, I like to put a dab of RTV around just to seal up any imperfections that may exist. So I don't go too heavy with it, but figure a little dollop around the inside will maybe, if I didn't get something quite off as far as old gasket, this should make up the difference. Man, that stuff is sticky though. The reason I'm doing the voiceover today is while I was outside, there was some construction going on nearby, so all you heard was engines running. So I got a replacement gasket here off eBay from Hamilton Bob's eBay store, and I'm just lining up a bolt and putting it on, and I just start every bolt by hand threading it to make sure nothing's cross threaded and it goes in smoothly. And then once you line up the second bolt in the bolt hole, the rest all go in with no problem. So I'm just going to put the rest of the bolts into the rear cover. And like I said, I start each bolt by hand threading it just to make sure that there's no cross-threading issues. And then on the bottom, since the 147 has the longer bolts that go to the hitch, I bought another hitch off eBay and went to Home Depot and grabbed some 3/8 bolts that are double the length and test fit them in. One of the things I wish I had is either a large shed or some kind of a garage. Unfortunately, my house doesn't have one. All I have is the driveway and one of those 10 by 10 Shelter Logic buildings that gets incredibly hot inside. And I love the summer as much as the next guy, but my driveway is 100% in the sun from morning till dusk. So I was roasting out here. It was about 90 degrees in the shade, and I was hot. Now you'll notice I'm using my electric impact wrench to tighten the bolts down. And I know there are purists out there right now that are going, oh my god, I can't believe he's doing that. He's going to strip them out. But I literally only tighten the bolt enough till I see some of the gasket sealant, the RTV, ooze out, and then I stop. I don't sit there and continuously crank down on them. As part of the change, I replaced the filter, and this looks like it's not the original filter like there was on the 147, but it is an older one. But seeing a aftermarket filter or a later edition filter it does make you feel better that this tractor did get some maintenance at some point. I was going to try using the wrench to take it off, but if it was anything like the 147, I figured I'd try it by hand first, because as you can see, it rolled off smoothly. So just position the oil pan underneath. And let it drip out. And there's not many threads that hold on. It actually came off pretty quick. But I wanted to get this hydro fluid change done before summer came and really got going, and also before I put the mower deck on the tractor, which will be a separate video that you'll see. I'm going to try to put up the video on how to install the mule drive and the scissor frame and the mower deck coming up maybe later this week. I want to put up a video on that because other than maybe one or two, and they don't, really show the exact details in their video, they kind of show the general idea. Just a quick video on actually putting on a mower deck on one of these machines. So, as you can see here, I put a little bit of oil on the new O-ring for the filter, and the new filter's on, and pretty much hand tight will get you by with these. Give it a good crank or two, and just remember you have to take it off again someday, so don't kill it when you put it on. Like anything, make sure you're not cross-threading it. If you get any resistance, then you should stop and recheck what you're doing. As far as refilling, I just take a funnel and a little bungee cord and stick it in there and bend it up. And I use the Traveler hydro fluid from Tractor Supply. It says it's a replacement for the Hytran, available from International Harvester, but surprisingly here in northeastern Mass, it's not incredibly agricultural, and we don't have International Harvester dealers on every corner. So getting that fluid is pretty hard, and it's also pretty expensive. I guess I was doing something more than trumbling around my backyard with these tractors. I might get the better fluid, but I've had plenty of people tell me that Traveler fluid that Tractor Supply sells is equal to Hytran. So I know some purists may not like it, but thanks for watching.